A brand new $60,000 SUV pulled into the driveway across the street. Camille watched it from her window and felt something sink in her chest. She was 33, worked hard, and still drove a paid-off 10-year-old sedan. Her neighbor was the same age, same kind of job. So how did they afford that when Camille could barely afford her groceries? Here's the strange part. That shiny SUV is not proof that your neighbor is winning. Very often, it is proof that your neighbor is quietly drowning. Because most of what looks like wealth in America is not wealth at all. It is debt, dressed up to look expensive. Roughly 85% of new cars are bought with a loan. The average new car loan is now about $43,000. Nearly 1 in 5 new car buyers now pays over $1,000 a month. That SUV is not a trophy. It is a monthly bill with wheels. And yet, scrolling past it every day, you feel like you are the one falling behind. You are not falling behind. You are comparing your real, honest life to everyone else's financed highlight reel. Today, we are going to prove it with hard numbers. And by the end, that sinking feeling in your chest is going to loosen. Because you have been lied to by the most convincing liar there is. Not a person, but a pattern, running quietly on every screen you own. It takes other people's spending and sells it to you as their success. It takes their debt and repackages it as your inadequacy. Once you see how the trick works, you can never quite unsee it. And you stop handing your peace of mind to strangers you will never meet. Let's name the feeling first, because naming it takes away its power. Psychologists now call it money dysmorphia. It is feeling broke and behind even when your finances are actually fine. It is looking at your savings and feeling shame instead of pride. Studies suggest that most people who feel this way are financially stable. The feeling is not coming from your bank account. It is coming from the constant glowing comparison in your pocket. For most of human history, you only compared yourself to your street. Now you compare yourself to the richest, most curated lives on earth all day. Your neighbor's new car, a coworker's beach photos, a stranger's kitchen renovation. Your brain quietly adds it all up and whispers, everyone is ahead of you. But your brain is doing the math with fake numbers. It sees the spending and assumes the wealth. It never once sees the debt hiding behind the spending. And here is the quiet cost of that whispering, day after day. It does not just make you feel bad for a moment. It changes how you spend your actual money. Studies find that most people with money dysmorphia end up hurt financially by it. They overspend to close a gap that was never real. They take on debt to match a lifestyle that was itself built on debt. So the illusion spreads, one anxious purchase at a time. You see the neighbor's SUV, so you lease one too. Now 2 households are broke and the street looks richer than ever. The feeling of being behind is quietly what pushes you to actually fall behind. That is why understanding this matters more than almost any budgeting tip. Fix the comparison and half your money problems lose their power. So today we pull back the curtain on all of it. Here is what the data actually shows. Let's compare 2 real-feeling people, Camille and her coworker Denise, same office. Same job title. Both earn about $72,000 a year. From the outside, Denise is clearly winning at life. Denise drives that $60,000 SUV with the panoramic roof. She posts a tropical vacation every few months. She always has the newest phone and a closet full of new clothes. Camille drives her old paid-off sedan and vacations at her sister's place. So Camille assumes Denise makes far more money than she does. She does not. They earn within a few $100s of each other. The difference is not income. The difference is what happens behind the curtain. Let's actually look behind Denise's curtain. That SUV costs her $1,100 every single month. Her credit cards carry a balance of about $9,000. Those vacations went straight onto those cards at 24% interest. Denise has $300 in her savings account. If her transmission died tomorrow, she would borrow to fix it. Denise is not wealthy. Denise is one bad month from disaster. Now let's look behind Camille's curtain, the one nobody sees. Camille has no car payment because her sedan is paid off. She quietly saves $800 a month. She has $11,000 in an emergency fund. She has $40,000 invested and growing. Every month, her quiet sedan saves her the $1,100 Denise pays out. That is over $13,000 a year Camille keeps and Denise loses. Camille invests most of that gap, and it compounds silently in the background. Nobody will ever post a photo of a growing index fund. So nobody claps for Camille and everybody claps for Denise. On paper, Camille is far wealthier than Denise. But on Instagram, Denise wins every single day. That gap between how things look and how things are is the whole game. And almost nobody is showing you the second half of it. Let's add up the two women in plain dollars. Denise has $300 saved and about $9,000 of debt. Her real net worth, once you subtract the debt, is deeply negative. Camille has $51,000 saved and invested and no debt at all. So Camille is more than $60,000 ahead of Denise. $60,000 on the exact same salary in the same office. Yet, if you ask 10 coworkers who was doing better, all 10 would say Denise. That is how powerful the illusion is. 10 out of 10 smart people, reading it exactly backwards. So let's break down exactly how the illusion is built, piece by piece. The first piece is that wealth is invisible and spending is loud. You can see a new car. You cannot see a brokerage account. You can see a designer bag. You cannot see a paid-off mortgage. Real wealth makes almost no sound at all. It sits quietly in accounts you will never be invited to see. So, your eyes only ever collect the evidence of spending, and then your brain calls that spending wealth. It is measuring the wrong thing entirely. The loudest wallet in the room is very often the emptiest. Think about what $100,000 of real wealth looks like. It looks like absolutely nothing. It is invisible. It is a number on a screen that no stranger will ever see. Now think about what a $500 handbag looks like. It looks like money, even though it left the account forever. This is the trick your eyes play on you every day. They reward the person who spent and ignore the person who saved. The saver built the wealth. The spender built the appearance of it. An appearance is the only thing a camera can capture. The second piece is that most of the spending is borrowed. Remember, 85% of new cars roll off the lot on a loan. The average American also carries around $7,000 in credit card debt. That designer lifestyle you are envying is frequently rented, not owned. One survey found that 28% of people went into debt just to look wealthy online. Read that again. Nearly 1 in 3 faked it and paid interest for the privilege. They bought the appearance of a life they could not actually afford. And you sat at home feeling like the failure. Picture the mechanics of that for a second. Someone swipes a card for a $2,000 handbag they cannot afford. They post the photo, collect the likes, and feel wealthy for an afternoon. Then the statement arrives, and that $2,000 starts charging interest. A year later, they have paid interest and still owe most of the balance. The likes are long gone. The debt is not. Meanwhile, you scrolled past that photo and quietly felt smaller. You absorbed the cost of their purchase without spending a dime. That is the strangest tax in the world. Their debt, your shame. The person going into debt to impress you is not ahead of you. They are digging a hole and decorating the top of it. Let's do the real math on that borrowed SUV for a second. A $60,000 car financed over 7 years is a brutal deal. Add the interest, and the true cost climbs well past $70,000. Meanwhile, the car loses half its value in the first 5 years. So they pay $70,000 for something worth $30,000. That is not wealth. That is a slow, expensive leak. Camille's paid-off sedan does the exact same job for $0 a month. It gets her to work just as reliably, and it never once texts her a payment. The person who looks poor is quietly thousands of dollars richer every year. The third piece is lifestyle inflation, and it is sneaky. When people earn more, they almost always spend more. The raise arrives, and a nicer car arrives right behind it. A bigger apartment. A better vacation. A more expensive everything. The income went up, but the savings did not move an inch. This is why income tells you shockingly little about wealth. Nearly half of Americans earning over $100,000 live paycheck to paycheck. Let that number sink in. Almost half of six-figure earners have little to nothing left at month's end. A big paycheck is not wealth. It is just a bigger river flowing through the house. What matters is how much of that river you actually keep. A person earning $50,000 who saves $10,000 is building wealth. A person earning $200,000 who saves nothing is not. The second person looks richer at every dinner party, but the first person is the one quietly getting ahead. Income is the water, savings is the bucket. A giant hose means nothing if your bucket has a hole in the bottom. Most high earners never fix the hole, they just buy a bigger hose. And then they wonder why the bucket is always empty. This is why you cannot guess anyone's wealth from their salary. The fourth piece is the machine in your hand. Social media did not invent envy, but it weaponized it. Before, you compared your life to maybe a few dozen neighbors. Now you compare it to millions of curated, filtered, sponsored lives. You see the vacation, never the credit card statement. You see the new kitchen, never the second mortgage that paid for it. You see the highlight, never the struggle behind it. And you are comparing your full, messy behind the scenes to everyone's greatest hits. That is not a fair fight. It was never designed to be one. No wonder you feel behind. The game is rigged to make you feel that way. The platforms make money when you feel a little bit inadequate. An anxious viewer scrolls longer and buys more. So the feed is tuned to show you people who seem to have more. It is not an accident that you close the app. Feeling behind. That feeling is the product working exactly as designed. Every ad after that promises to fix the gap it just created. Buy this, and you will finally feel like the people you envy. So you spend money you have to look like people who spent money they did not. The whole loop only ends the day you stop measuring yourself by the feed. The fifth piece is the hidden anxiety underneath the shine. Here is something the pretty photos will never show you. People who fake wealth are far more stressed than they look. Research suggests those who appear wealthy are about 3 times less likely to have an emergency fund. They are roughly 5 times more anxious about their long-term security. The confident vacation smile is often hiding a knot of quiet panic. The person you envy may lie awake doing the same math you do. Except their numbers are worse because their lifestyle is bigger. Debt does not just cost money. It costs sleep and peace and options. You are envying a photograph of a person who cannot sleep. Denise smiles on that beach with a $9,000 balance behind her. The photo does not show the interest quietly eating her paycheck at home. It does not show the pit in her stomach when the statement arrives. 24% interest on $9,000 is over $2,000 a year. She is paying $2,000 just to keep the debt from growing. That is $2,000 that will never become wealth. Camille's $11,000 emergency fund, meanwhile, lets her sleep like a baby. One of these women is anxious and looks calm. The other looks ordinary and feels genuinely safe. And safety, it turns out, is the thing everyone is actually chasing. Nobody really wants the handbag or the SUV for its own sake. They want the feeling of being okay, of having enough, of not being afraid. But debt buys the look of that feeling while quietly stealing the feeling itself. Camille bought the real thing and skipped the look. That is the trade almost nobody on your feed is willing to make. The sixth piece is the quietest truth of all: stealth wealth. The truly wealthy usually do not look wealthy at all. Studies of American millionaires found most drive modest, ordinary cars. They wear regular clothes and live in normal houses. The classic research on this had a memorable finding. The people with the biggest garages often had the smallest bank accounts. And the real millionaires were the boring ones you would never notice. Think about the quiet man down the hall in the 15-year-old Toyota. He never posts anything. He never flashes anything. He also has $1.2 million in index funds. Real wealth is not loud, because loud is expensive. The wealthiest person you know is probably someone you assumed was doing just okay. Why do real millionaires stay so quiet about it? Because they understand a simple, brutal rule of money. Every dollar you spend to look rich is a dollar you no longer have. You can look rich or you can be rich, rarely both at once. The flashy spender chose to look rich and paid for the costume. The stealth millionaire chose to be rich and skipped the costume entirely. He drove the boring car for 20 years and invested the difference. That difference, quietly compounding, is exactly how he crossed $1 million. He is not lucky, he just refused to pay for other people's approval. The boring choice, repeated for decades, is what real wealth is actually made of. The seventh piece is the cruelest one. The finish line keeps moving. Even if you catch up, the comparison never lets you feel it. Get the new car, and suddenly the neighbor has a newer one. Hit $100,000, and now everyone online is flashing $1 million. The reference point slides up the exact moment you reach it. This is called the hedonic treadmill, and it runs whether you are rich or poor. People who won the lottery report being no happier a year later, because they raised their spending, met richer people, and started comparing. Upward again. There is no dollar amount that silences the comparison. The only way to win is to step off the treadmill entirely. You do that by choosing your own number and refusing to move it. Decide what enough looks like for you, in real dollars. Then stop letting a stranger's highlight reel redraw that line. So now let's put the two pictures side by side one more time. Denise looks rich and is quietly broke. Camille looks ordinary and is quietly building real wealth. Multiply that gap across every person you compare yourself to. Some of them are genuinely wealthy, sure, but a huge share are simply better at looking wealthy than being wealthy. And you have no way to tell which is which from the outside. So your brain assumes the worst about your own progress. It assumes everyone else figured out a secret you missed. There is no secret. There is just a curtain, and now you can see behind it. And once you have seen behind it, envy starts to feel almost silly. You cannot envy a costume once you know it is a costume. You start to feel something closer to relief, and even a little compassion. Relief that you were never actually behind. Compassion for the people paying so much just to look like they are ahead. The $60,000 SUV stops looking like a win. It starts looking like a very heavy, very expensive weight, and your paid-off sedan stops looking like a compromise. It starts looking like exactly what it is: freedom with 4 wheels. Here is the counterintuitive part almost nobody says out loud. The more visibly someone spends, the less wealthy they usually are. That sounds backwards, but the numbers keep pointing the same direction. Visible spending and actual net worth often move in opposite directions. Every dollar shouted at the world is a dollar that left the building. Every dollar quietly invested is a dollar still working for you. So the flashiest people are often the ones with the least underneath. And the plainest people are often sitting on the most. Here is the line worth remembering. A new car in the driveway is not proof of wealth. It is proof of a payment. Wealth is the money you do not see because it never got spent. Say that one more time because it undoes years of bad programming. Wealth is not the stuff. Wealth is the money that never turned into stuff. The mansion you can see might be mortgaged to the roof. The millionaire you cannot spot skipped the mansion on purpose. He kept the money instead of the monument, and the money kept growing. The next time you feel behind, remember what you are actually looking at. You are looking at other people's spending and calling it their success. Spending and success are not the same thing. They are often opposites. You are looking at their highlight reel and calling it their whole life. Try this quiet experiment the next time envy shows up. When you see something shiny, ask one question: who is paying for that and how? Is it owned or is it financed at 24%? Is that a person who saved for years or one who signed for 7? You will almost never know for sure, and that is exactly the point. If you cannot tell wealth from debt at a glance, then neither can your envy. So stop trusting a feeling built entirely on things you cannot actually see. The envy is guessing, and it always guesses in the direction that hurts you. Camille finally understood this the day Denise quietly asked to borrow $40. The woman with the $60,000 SUV could not cover a $40 lunch. That was the moment the whole illusion fell apart for Camille. Think about how backwards that single moment really was. The woman everyone envied was borrowing lunch money from the woman everyone pitied. The $60,000 SUV was parked outside while its owner counted quarters. Nothing about the appearance matched anything about the reality. And Camille had been quietly punishing herself over that appearance for years. She had spent 2 years feeling poor next to a woman with nothing saved. 2 years of quiet shame built entirely on a costume. The $40 loan was worth more than any lecture could have been. It showed Camille the truth she could never see from the driveway. The scoreboard she had been reading was completely upside down. And the day she stopped reading it, the sinking feeling finally stopped too. So what do you actually do with all of this, starting today? The first move is to unfollow the accounts that make you feel behind. You are not obligated to watch a slideshow designed to make you spend. Curate your feed until it stops quietly billing your self-worth. The second move is to build one number you fully control. Track your own net worth this month against last month. That single private number is immune to anyone else's costume. When it goes up, you are winning, no matter what the driveway across the street looks like. The third move is to automate your saving before you can feel behind. Send money into investments the day your paycheck lands, before comparison can touch it. Camille never once decided to save each month. She decided one time, then automated it. The fourth move is to define your own finish line in real dollars. Maybe it is a paid-off house. Maybe it is $1,000 a month in dividends. Whatever it is, write it down and stop letting strangers move it. The fifth move is the hardest and the most freeing. Let people think you are doing just okay. Let them have the newest car and the loudest life, while they pay for. Applause. You quietly buy your freedom. In 10 years, nobody will remember the SUV. But you will still have the wealth you built while they were performing. So let's be clear about where you actually stand. If you have no car payment, you are ahead of most of your street. If you have even a small emergency fund, you are ahead of nearly half the country. If you save anything at all each month, you are quietly winning. A race nobody sees. You are not behind. You are just not loud. The people who look the most ahead are often the furthest behind. Look at the real scoreboard for a moment, not the one on your screen. Nearly half of six-figure earners have nothing left at the end of the month. The average household is carrying about $7,000 in credit card debt. Most new cars on your street are quietly owned by the bank. If you are outside those numbers, you are not losing. You are quietly leading. You just happen to be leading a race that produces no photos. And a race with no photos is the only kind worth winning. Stop measuring your real life against everyone else's financed illusion. Measure it against your own numbers, last month versus this month. That is the only scoreboard that has ever actually mattered. Every other scoreboard was built to sell you something. Yours was built to set you free. Make the decision that matches your reality, not someone else's highlight reel. If this loosened that knot in your chest, subscribe to Coach Nora Money. Hit the notification bell while you are there. We break down the hidden math behind the financial decisions you face every single day. Somewhere out there, someone is looking at your steady, quiet life and assuming you have it figured out. To someone poorer than you, you are already the person who seems ahead. The comparison runs in every direction and it lies in every direction, so opt out of the whole rigged game. Run your own numbers, at your own pace, toward your own finish line. That is the only race where you were ever actually a contestant. You were never behind. You were just comparing your truth to someone else's costume.